is up, Tech family? This is Josh Tech, and on this episode, I'm going to talk about how to create a new repository in GitHub. So let's get straight into it. All right, so to start things off, once you create an account with GitHub, the next thing you need to do is create a repository. That's very important. This is where you start a project, and so you can see at the top left, it says create repository. What I want you to do is just click this, and then it will bring you to the screen. On this screen, you see how these little instructions right here, this is important to know, and I'm gonna go over it with you. So the first thing is the owner. That's pretty much just your name whenever you create a project. If you know a company that you work for, they create a project, just the owner of it is gonna be the name. The repository name, this is anything that you want to come up with. You see, for example, it just gives us a suggestion. It could be upgraded disco. It can be whatever you want to name it for the project. Usually try to name it something that's similar to whatever you're working on in a project you want to create, to make you remember, especially when you go through multiple projects throughout a year. Just naming them closer to whatever you was working on will help a lot. So for this one, I'm gonna just name an example project. Bam. And the next thing is I'm gonna do a description. So description is pretty much just like the header, or kind of something that just tells you the overview of what it is. So for this one, I'm gonna just name it the same exact thing, example project, and then I'm gonna just leave it just like that. You can write more to it, but I usually write more in the Readme. That's where you get more, but I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. So the next thing is public and private. So public is pretty much anyone can see this repository. So that means when you write code, anybody can see it because it's public. So if anybody want to get on your check out your username, and then they check to see what projects you worked on. Like, so for example, if a company wants to know more about you, and then you give them your GitHub and they go on your GitHub, they can look at all your public repositories. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you want to look stylish, if you want to show them that you can write code, I would say keep it public. If you want something more private, where you're testing out and trying to figure out how to code better, or trying to learn new skills, then you might want to keep it private so that you can keep it for yourself and learn how to do it yourself. So for this example, I'm going to keep it public. And then the next thing is the Readme. For the Readme, you will be able to write a good summary of exactly what this project is about. Usually when you see a Readme, it's a description about the project, and it gives you a better understanding about what the project is. And it gives you like a detailed list. Like an example is NVM, and then is the node version manager, and then it's pretty much goes straight through. And then if you look at it, it gives you an example of everything you need to do in the Readme to be able to set up your NVM. And so that's very important to be able to do. And I'm going to check it off, and I'm going to write something in the Readme so you all can see, for example. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the git ignore. This is just pretty much anything that you feel like that you want to avoid, in a sense. These are files that you don't want to keep a track of, like, and it's a list of them. So for example, if you want to list something like C++, for example, it'll show you once I click create repository of things that you probably shouldn't write or push when you are working within that project. The next thing is choose a license, but it's a license that, like it says, tells others what they can and can't do with the code. So you will see that when you are working on bigger projects and maybe working with a company, you will see more of that. But right now, I'm not gonna get into it. But just be on the lookout for that. They also have things every time where you can learn more about it. So be sure to do that if you're more curious about how to choose, or if you need to choose a license. And so now I want to create a repository. And then bam, just like that, you have a repository. Here's the git ignore. And this is all the things on C++ that pretty much those are things that you can avoid. And then this is the Readme right here, example project where people can read it. It says it right here as well. And like I said, you can go in here and you can write more to it to give an example of what you want people to see. Also, this is the main branch right here, as you can see. So the main branch, it can also be called master or whatever your company. You will mainly see what that is when you're working on a project, what the main branch is. So that's very important, because when you're working with a bigger team, whenever you need to merge your code, when you have your own branch on the local, you're going to have to merge it into the main or the master branch. So always be aware of that. It's very important, and you will know that as you become more advanced and more developed in this career field. But that's pretty much it, I would say, for this video. I'm gonna go in more detail about the code and using it with the editor once you create the repository, but I just want to go over a quick video about how to create a new repository in GitHub. I hope you all enjoy it. Espero que tengas un buen día. Ciao.